different, Odie.
Yeah, because it's so big.
Oh.
This is the biggest gourd that's used, and this one is called a gunga.
A gunga.
The small one is called the middle one is called the segunda, and the small one is called in the drumming style, it's called the quinto. What is the small one called? Anyway, you can tell the difference. This is the big bass one. Mm-hmm. And what I want to say to you is that it is very hard to hold.
I can believe
so I'm putting it down. I'll be back. I'll be back with you, okay? Hang in there. You have to talk to your beer and bar every now and then, otherwise they just become fractious and unreliable, and they won't cooperate.
Oh.
If I put this one, well, this has been down for a while now, so it's not cooperating at all.
Oh, it has personality.
Yeah, I mean, it almost jumped out of my hand.
Sensitive. Now.
But I'm not mad at anything. Okay. I'm not mad at you.
Okay.
Just behave yourself, okay?
All right.
I'm opening the ear out so it'll be able to hear what it is I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
So, hey, but this afternoon, going right back to business, we're back at Media Watch, and the two columns this afternoon deal with images, and the title of the second one is What's Happening?
Images and what's happening, and they...
Images.
Okay, and they were published?
Published in African Times newspaper, published by Charles Anyiam.
Gotcha, okay.
The years 1996 to 1999.
Oh, okay.
And I'm having fun with you, but
okay, yes.
you're so much fun to have fun with.
Thank you.
Anyway, right here.
All right, these are columns you wrote. Odie
These
Hawkins.
are columns I wrote for this newspaper.
All right.
And I'm beginning to see that I was full of fire.
You still are, but okay.
I had a lot of stuff on my mind.
All right.
Okay, the first column is for dates from September the 15th, 1997. The second one is October 1997. First, images. It was simply multicultural party chit-chat, compounded by plastic glasses of white wine held at port arms until Anna Nighthawk spoke. Held at port arms is what they do in the Army when you hold your rifle this way. Okay. People always ask, holding port arms, what does this mean? Well, hold your rifle in a certain way. Boy, pineapple juice is something else. It was simply multicultural party chit-chat compounded by plastic glasses of white wine held at port arms until Anna Nighthawk spoke. I can't understand how African Americans, of all people, can allow themselves to be participants in the marketing, the slander, and degradation of our people. Anna Nighthawk had obviously become annoyed by the illogical statements about Native Americans that an African American man was making. Perhaps it was the white wine. I monitored the conversation as she became more intense. A number of Native Americans referred to themselves as the people, or the human beings. Of course, being human beings, they may have had other names for the people who lived on the other side of the mountains. She was not humorless. The people, including my brothers and sisters in South America, have been in a trick bag ever since we were misnamed Indians by a bloodthirsty bunch of rapists and gold-crazed savages who call themselves explorers. I've never heard of any Apaches, Navajos, Choctaws, Shoshones, Senecas, Cherokee, or Iroquois who set foot on Spanish soil, Portuguese soil, or German soil and claimed that they had discovered it. The brothers switched horses in midstream. It wasn't a clever move. By now several others had tuned in. We're not mascots, we're human beings. We don't want to be dehumanized like that. The sad thing about what you're saying is that I can't think of an African American family that doesn't have a Native American ancestor. And yet many African Americans buy into the apathy, ignorance, and racism that denies the Native Americans their pride and dignity. The lady was not holding out a peace pipe or waiting for the Long Ranger to lead her anywhere. Think about it. Just a few years ago, you were battling to have Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben eliminated from the supermarket shelves, and yet you see nothing inhumane about defiling Native American cultures. Remember when Africans and Africa were characterized as a savage place and the people there were primitive, uncivilized pagans, unfit to be anything but slaves? Media Watch took advantage of a lull in her speech. Most of those sentiments have gone underground, but they're never far from the surface. If you have any doubts, visit your nearest correctional facility, read the daily newspapers, watch television for an hour, or go see George of the Jungle or Ace Ventura. Anna Nighthawk nodded in agreement and continued to rap. It was quite obvious from the dazed expressions on a number of dark-skinned faces that they were hearing something that they had never given any serious thought to before. Think about it. Early on, when the first African captives managed to escape chattel slavery, they came to us and we offered refuge. Her antagonist, someone who obviously enjoyed being publicly spanked, snatched at a straw. But isn't it true that the Indians also enslaved Africans? She hesitated for a deep breath and then shot from the hip. Yes, Native Americans also enslaved Africans, but it was closer to the African concept of slavery than the European chattel slavery idea. What I'm saying is that Africans, Native Americans, people were not condemned to slavery forever. A man or woman might serve a period of time in bondage and be released or buy himself or herself free or get married or whatever. We held the Africans in high regard because they had dealt with the Europeans. They knew his nature, and the Native Americans have always had respect for experience, wisdom, and knowledge. You won't find it in any of your Euro-centricized history books, but there were a number of Native American cultures, especially in the South, that were greatly influenced by the infusion of African blood and ideas. Are you suggesting that I don't know my history? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm saying it straight up. If you don't know any history, or that is to say, if you don't know my history, you're missing out on a big chunk of your history, because you must remember, here on this continent, before there was any his story, there was our story. The end of the evening came too suddenly, but I'm certain I was the only one who rode away from the scene thinking of what I had to do to give Native Americans their props. Thank you, Anna.
That's nice.
Thank you, Anna. I remember a scene outside of football stadium where there was several Native American protesters talking to the brother who came to the event with feathers stuck all over his body and war paint, and I think he even had a hatchet or something. And they were trying to get him to see how ridiculous he looks. And he's saying, I'm a Washington Indians fan, or what's that fan? A Redskin, Washington Redskins fan. And they were saying, you know, brother, you know, how about Blackskins? How about the New York Blackskins or something? And he couldn't.
Didn't get it.
He couldn't. Some don't get it, some don't get it. Let's go on to what's happening.
All right.
For long moments, a bewildering series of choices. The Promise Keepers in Washington, D.C. compared to the Million Man March. Well, the Promise Keepers never had to argue with anyone about their numbers. The Day of the Drum Festival at the Watchtowers Art Center, a dismal event since the retirement of charismatic community correspondent John Outterbridge, former director. That is not to say, I think dismal event is too harsh a word. Under Rosie Hooks, it's a vibrant, thriving thing, but I'm so pro-John that I just simply threw that in when I said it. No disrespect to anybody who tries to do the best they can at the Watchtowers Art Center with short-range funding and not very much city help. The Day of the Drum Festival at the Watchtowers Art Center, the rallies speak out against the police brutality and murder at WLCAC. Over 200 people of color have been murdered nationally by police since 1990. There was an escalation in murders after 1990, as most people know. Figures supplied by the Watts Committee Against Police Brutality. Abner Louisma, the immigrant Haitian victim of police oppression, is only one of a number who have been brutalized since the police pushed me to the ground on 120th Wilmington yesterday as a suspicious character. I suspect it may have had something to do with the fact that I was whistling. I suspect that whistling is against the law in South Central Los Angeles. That's what it was called then before it was renamed South Los Angeles. For long, oh, you doubt that it happened, huh?
You tried, but okay. All right.
If you hear the police breaking in the door, you'll know what the law says.
All right.
Going right along.
Okay.
For long pregnant moments, what could be said about Amde Hamilton, Richard Dedeaux, and Otis O'Solomon of Watts Prophets? Would their 30 years of poetry making be of interest to anyone? The release of their latest CD, When the 90s Came. Despite the fact that I wrote the liner notes for the CD, I had to step away from an entire column on the brothers. Yet, I wouldn't hesitate to say to those who are interested, go, see, hear the legendary, revolutionary, contemporary Watts Prophets at the Club Fedodo, over there on Adams between La Brea and Fairfax, Los Angeles. The Watts Prophets will do 2 live sets every Thursday in October at 8 p.m. $6, all ages.
Oh my goodness.
$6.
What year was this?
This was 1997.
Wow. Okay.
WLCAC, Watts Labor Community Action Committee, under the dynamic leadership of Sister Cheryl Watkins. What's that about? Well, there's the 4th Annual Civil Rights Festival, October 25th to 26th at WLCAC. That's at 10950 South Central Avenue, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. That would explain a lot to a lot of people. Been reading the life stories of Fela, Billy Strayhorn, Duke Ellington's alter ego, Ornette Coleman, Sun Ra, Django Reinhardt, and Miles Davis, authored by one of my ex-Watts Writers Workshop brothers, Quincy True. Quincy steered me into Sergio Mondragon, a powerful Zapotec Mexican poet, way back when a human being could breathe the air in the Distrito Federal, Mexico City. Panifest in Ghana. Once again, the Ghanaians seem to be determined to remind our brothers and sisters on the western edge of the continent that they must acknowledge their responsibility for allowing the diaspora to begin on their shores. During Panifest 1994, popularly dubbed Panaflop,
Oh my.
I attended an atonement. The truth is the light of the world.
Okay.
I I attended an atonement ceremony in Jamestown, Accra, Ghana, that was performed by some of the most spiritually enlightened men and women in the country. Jamestown, Accra, has got to be considered the misbegotten mammy of all slums. But it was there that the priests, the chiefs, and the wannabe rights asked our ancestors for forgiveness for our ancestors' participation in the slave business around about 2 a.m. in the morning. It was kind of a topsy-turvy thing. There were people who were descendants of slave traders who were asking us who had been traded away in slavery to forgive them for having had their ancestors participate in slavery, even though some of those same people were our ancestors. Get it?
Got it.
Many of us Africans in America have often discussed the reasons why other West African nations shouldn't have atonement rights. It would definitely boost Pan-African tourism in their countries. Long thoughts. Finally, it would have to be the media, because that's what it's all about. Slowly, irrevocably, it seems to be coming. If you have been attending Baba Ayuko's Pan-African Film Festival, beginning at the Venice, Fox in Venice, way back when, and lately at the Magic Johnson Theaters, then the fluttering release of Pan-African aesthetics in films does not come to you like a thump on the head. The thump starts in the heart, and it may not be a recent rush, but one that started with Hubie Blake and Noble Sissel, continued through the most powerful of colored comedy guys and gals, all the way through the subterfuges practiced by all the African-American heroes and sheroes, to Sambani's Black Girl, to Serema's Sankofa, to what's happening now. What's happening now is definitely not Negro-centric sitcoms, but rather the latter-day version of Nothing But a Man. Check out the underrated Once Upon a Time When We Were Colored, Hollywood Shuffle, Waiting to Exhale. They couldn't exhale. Oprah wouldn't allow it. And now Soul Food. Soul Food, George Tillman Jr.'s Opus Delicious, should be considered an extraordinary film, but it is extraordinary because it bypasses Holly apartheid, or should I say Hollywood apartheid. That's it. On the way back home. For years, the vibe has been spinning African Americans back to soul and Anglo Americans into special effects. Soul Food seems to be saying, you are what you eat. So, that's what was happening right then and there. And I'll be moving right along tomorrow to the National Geographic and to a tribute to Mongo Santa Maria, the great Congero. And
well, thank you again for readings of the Media Watch from the newspaper, the African Times. And I certainly am looking forward to the next reading.
Did you wink at me? I winked back. Go ahead.
Okay. And it's really all cute.
Did you wink at me?
Yes, I did
okay.
wink at you. www.odiehawkins.com is your website. Your books can be purchased at Author House, Barnes & Noble, iUniverse, and Amazon, as well as your local bookstore. All you have to do is go in and say, I want a book by the author, Odie Hawkins. Also, the radio plays can be purchased online at Old Time Radio, of plays that Odie Hawkins wrote in this 1979 and also 1980. And I guess that's about it. Odie Hawkins.
I'd like to add one more little thing.
What's that?
The pineapple juice may be purchased at Trader Joe's.
And it is delicious.
And it's too.
Fantastic. All right. Until tomorrow.